Okay, everybody, get ready, get ready. We are just about to do an interview with Lindsey Rago. Lindsey, give them a little bit of what you're going to talk to them about.
Oh my gosh, we get into all things mental, emotional, and physical wellness. We talk about where you're limiting yourself, how you can break through, and really just optimize the way that you're living and the way that you're taking care of you. That's a good one.
I love it, and I learned so much. Welcome to the Dallas Culture Club podcast. For those who seek to create meaningful connections with other purpose-driven locals in a more authentic relationship with yourself. I'm your host, Carrie Horn, founder of Passion Dallas Media. And through these talks with my incredible guests and my own life experiences, I'm going to show you that the secret to building a more connected and joyful life is through your conversations and cultural experiences. Come on, let's dive in. Hey, Dallas. We are so excited to be back with you today for episode 5, season 1 of the Dallas Culture Club podcast. On the podcast, you have the opportunity to hear the stories of local creative leaders who are shaping the culture of our city. And today we have a very special guest. Lindsey Rago is a heart-centered personal health coach and co-founder of the Fitness Project. Lindsey is able to tap into her own health and wellness journey to add love, inspiration, and motivation into our city by teaching us how to really connect with ourselves through mental, physical, and emotional health. Without further ado, let's listen in to my amazing conversation with Lindsey Rago. I have been anticipating this. I walked in today and I said to John, I am so excited for this podcast today. There's something about just even talking to you on the phone that very first time that I had the opportunity to do that, where I was just, you've got this drawing nature and it's calm at the same time. And I'm here today with Lindsey Rago.
That's me.
The Lindsey Rago, who I've been stalking on social media now for long time, since I got to have the pleasure of being introduced to you by a mutual friend.
So grateful.
Wow, you are special, and I just know it. Like, you radiate love and peace and hustle. And it's an interesting dynamic because they don't always belong together, and you wear it so well. Your beauty is not just physical and just so abundant, which, by the way, you're just stunning, but it is inner. And I just want to tell you that. And I have a major girl crush. So just so you know, it's true, because you're just beauty in a bottle.
Oh my gosh.
So thank you for being with me.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. You just described everything I write in my journal every day that I hope to exude in this world. So seriously.
Well, and isn't that the testament, though, about telling yourself how you want to show up? I listened yesterday, and if you don't know, I'll send you this this podcast, because you probably know who this very loud person in social media is. But I was listening to this podcast yesterday about how to show up on social media. And she said, you have to talk to somebody. You have to they have to have a personality, and they have to have a style, and they have to have an essence, and you have to know who they are. And you know what actually came to my mind is, I need to talk to me right now. I need to talk to me. I wonder, who are you talking to?
So I think about this every day. If I'm being honest, I think of who I want to talk to. Am I talking to myself? Am I talking to my client, Kara? Am I talking to my client, Sherry? Who am I speaking to today, and what do they need? So most days I'm talking to some of my favorite clients. All of them are my favorite. I love them all. But I'm speaking to whichever client I spoke to that day or that week that really needed something. They needed love. They needed an actual nutrition tip. They needed something that gave them a push or the permission to be okay right now. And so every time that I go on social media, I think of, who do I want to speak to right now, and what do they need, and what do I need to show up for, or how do I need to show up to be a leader for them? Who do they need?
I would think, because I think again, you're much younger than me. And so to me, social media is a beast. And it's one that I don't necessarily have the innate desire to conquer. I'll do it. I'm going to make myself. But I don't naturally want to. Like, I don't naturally feel the essence of needing to like put myself out there. I don't know why. It's just, I guess I didn't grow up like that. It wasn't normal for me. And so it feels sort of strange. But you have to show up. You have to show up for your people. You owe it to them, is what I've learned. Like, your people need to see you more than just when they're with you one-on-one. They need push when you don't know they need push. They need to see your face, and they need to see your actions when you don't know they're looking.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important that you have that, what seems to be a lot of intentionality behind what you're doing. How did you develop that? And am I,
that's I'm grateful, so grateful that that's seen from the front. My fiance, Brian, talks a lot. At least 3 times a week, he says, Lindsey, lead from the front. Lindsey, lead from the front. Lead from the front. And anytime that you stray away from showing up, it's usually because you're not showing up for yourself. So right? Like, if I'm not showing up on social media, it's probably because I didn't wake up that morning and work out and take care of myself and sit down with my journal and my coffee. I probably didn't do those things that fill me up. And whenever I do those things, I'm more apt to show up. And I'm like, yes, I want to show everybody this, because this is what makes you feel alive. This is what makes you feel like yourself. Right. And I want everybody who watches me to do that. So that intentionality was really developed, I would say, back when I actually started to feel like myself. So thinking of getting into fitness, we've talked a little bit about like my fitness or wellness journey, but when I first started actually seeing progress with my body and feeling more empowered, I started to show up on social media a lot, but it was from one post where I had lost like my first 20 pounds. And I was like, oh my God, this is so scary. I was like, people are going to see me without my shirt on. Oh my God. And I remember like I typed up the post. It was like 2 sentences and I was like, post.
Right.
And I woke up the next day and it had like hundreds and hundreds of people saying like, congratulations, It's wonderful, it's amazing. And I think that initial entrance into social media and into, oh, that's what happens if I just share, like without knowing what the outcome is going to be, without knowing if people are going to be like, I don't care. Why are you posting this? Just that was the entrance. And ever since then, it's been a lot of just, this is what I love. I hope that this speaks to you. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing and I feel great and I hope it can make you feel great too. So I think the intentionality was really, it's more intentional now because we have, that's what we do. We're coaches. But when I first started, it was more of, if I have people who are watching me, why don't I show them how amazing it is to do these things for yourself, to work out, to eat well, to journal. Like, why don't I just show people this? Maybe that will help them and inspire them. And it was more of just a whimsical activity that made me feel good. Like everybody posts because it makes them feel good.
Yeah.
In some way, even if they're like, oh no, it's just showing my kids. It's like, well, if you're posting your kids, it's because you like when people are like, oh my God, your Timmy is so cute. And you like that. That makes you feel good.
There's something that you're proud about that that is, even as I'm thinking through, like, and that's the only thing I post is about my kids for the most part. But, it's something that you're proud of. You know what's interesting about what you're saying, though, that, like, gives me even a little bit of, like, I guess maybe, like, excitement when I think about social media, which doesn't usually give me an excitement, is that you're not outcome focused is what I'm hearing. It isn't about how many clients can I pick up? Who's going to see me so I get more clients? How am I going to get more clients? I need to get more clients, which is that desperation that I think sometimes I see in people's social media.
Scarcity.
And I'm afraid, scarcity, that's what that is. And I'm maybe on some level afraid to like, to go there, because that is not where I want to come from. But you're really giving value. And it's not just only value of, let me show you some things that you can take. It's really your whole energy and your essence and sharing the love of things. And I just hear love and heart and, again, openness.
I love that. Yeah. And I've been victim to that mindset many times. So I will not pretend that I'm always like in that love-based state. I aim to be. That is like, I would say that is my personal mission in life, is to just be a channel of light and love and just make people feel that energy. But when it comes to social media, it's definitely, when you have a business and it is tied to your social, it's easy to get trapped in like, okay, what's the perfect thing to put out there?
Right.
Like, what does the business need? Or, oh, shoot, I didn't show up, like, oh my God, the last 5 days. Like, what am I going to do? So if you get in that mindset, it is very challenging to put something out that feels like you.
Yeah.
But I find that that's usually just, that's showing you what's already there, right?
Yeah.
Like, if that's showing up in social, like when you think about posting on social media, that discomfort or that fear is it's already there. Just the situation of showing up on social media is just the avenue to show you what's already in existence, kind of like meditation. Like, people are like, I can't meditate because my mind's so busy. It's like, well, your mind is busy and meditation shows you that it's busy and it gives you an opportunity to change it. But that's really uncomfortable. So when it comes to showing up and being in your essence, I think that you, like we kind of talked about towards the beginning, is you have to be in your essence in general.
Right.
And you have to be doing things that make you feel like you. And then if you're going the extra mile to say, oh, how can I show people this? Oh, well, I'm just going to jump on a quick video and be like, hey, oh my God, everybody's been asking me about how to make a maca latte. This is great for your hormone health because XYZ. I love it so much. Here's how I make it. And then it's just like, boom, there you go. When it comes to curation, that's its own thing. And I'm not an expert at curating the most beautiful content. But when it comes to showing up in your energy and your essence, I think that it comes down to you being there in general. Yeah. And then just taking the extra step to be like, oh, I'm just going to share this with people. And having that in your mind.
You know, it's interesting. You just, like, in this small set so far of this conversation, just answered a million questions I've had for myself. Because nobody's described it like that. You know, what you're saying is show up for you, be who you are, be true to yourself is the way that I would phrase it in my mind, like me, be true to yourself, and then go share it with the world because it's all in love. For me, I have to get there first. And I have never come to that understanding until just now.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Epiphany moment.
I'm like, what's going to get you there? The coach in me is like, I want to hear more.
I told you we're talking afterwards about signing up.
Okay. No, that's great.
This could be like, we could be signing up for all kinds of things. We don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
That's beautiful.
I love it. Okay, so I want to talk about health and wellness because something that, I mean, this is your expertise. This is your life. This is your livelihood. This is your fiance's life and livelihood. I just watched him running without headphones for, I don't know, was it 12 miles or some ridiculous in the heat? And I was like,
106 outside. Crazy man.
Crazy man. So obviously I know you live it. You don't just teach it, you live it. It came to me recently, like, how really important health and wellness is in my life. Maybe I don't place it in the top category like I should, and I'm busy and everybody's busy, whatever. But I am somebody that definitely keeps exercise close. Like, I'm always exercising to some degree, and realizing like what an important part that is in my life. But what is it for you? Like, why health and wellness for you?
Oh my goodness. I think it will come back to, it makes me feel like myself. But without diving too deep into psychology and emotional wellness, because we could go down a whole rabbit hole, the emotions that I like to live in on a daily basis are a sense of ease and a sense of confidence and a sense of love. Those are things that I really strive to just live in, and that to just be me. When I exercise and I do something that I love, we'll say it's like, I do a lot of different forms of movement we've talked about, but I do high-powered yoga, I do yin yoga, I do weight training, I do CrossFit. Sometimes I go for runs, I walk, I will do anything that includes movement, as long as it's probably not like rugby or ultra running or maybe cycling. I would do that too. But there are very few types of movement I wouldn't do. But each one helps me tap into a certain emotion. So yoga typically helps me tap into self-acceptance and love. That's the whole goal of yoga, is to connect with yourself, your breath, your movement. that helps me connect with that emotion. Weight training helps me connect with joy, especially if I'm listening to good music and dancing while I'm working out, but connects me to joy, connects me to power and confidence, empowerment, and walking ease. Like, so every type of movement has an emotion that I'm able to create and then live out for the hours after the day of. So on a day where you probably experience this, on a day where you don't exercise, you typically feel more sluggish, you feel a little bit more tired, think you might be a little bit more irritable, and you're just like, it's just the day. But when you move, you get to get whatever you need from that movement. It's not just like drop 20 pounds, go on the treadmill for 2 hours. It's like, that's not using it to its full potential. It's quite sad because most people end up hating exercise when it's only driven towards that outcome of like physical body. But when you use it to tap into your emotions, which is why I've latched onto it, it becomes like this incredible tool that you're like, why would I ever let this go? Right? And that's the key for exercise. And with anything else, health and wellness, when I think of health and wellness, I think of everything that is your persona, like your mind, your emotions, your spirit, your body, all the things that are you without any of your achievements, anything else around you, because you pour into everything that you create, right? So when I'm thinking of health and wellness, I'm also thinking of what am I doing for my mental health? What am I doing for my relational health, like my health when I show up with Brian? What am I doing to fuel my body? If I'm feeling anxious and I'm having 7 cups of coffee, it's like, well, that's also not necessarily healthy, right? So there's a lot of different things, but it's ultimately like I'm so passionate about this idea of life optimization and health optimization, because if I only have this persona, this body, like, why not make it everything that it can be? In all ways. That's my answer.
Yeah. Oh, it's so
I've latched onto it.
This might be a 4-hour podcast. I'm just letting everybody know, like, stay tuned. Oh my gosh. I knew it. I knew this was going to be like this. Well, you know what? What came to my mind is I was thinking about my own self in exercise, which again, I'm not doing what you're doing at all, but I do move every day. And to me, it's life. Like when you said all that, what came to my heart is exercise is really life. Now, again, it's not my life in its entirety. I'm doing all this other stuff and whatever, and it's a very small piece. But it's a really big piece at the same time.
A big return on your investment.
Right. Mm-hmm. So much so that as you said that, I thought, you know, in allowing myself to give more to myself and be more me, and this whole social media essence that we went on, that really needs to move up the ladder. You know, start with that. Don't end with that. Or end with it too, but start with that. Let that be first in your calendar instead of third or fourth in your calendar. Right. If that makes any sense.
Or even just in your calendar. But then, right? But that's true. Like write
it down, right?
Right? Well, I think of one of my clients who's just, oh my gosh, her business has exploded this year. And every time that she starts feeling more stressed or more anxious or just like unhealthy or low energy, it's always, have you meditated this week? What have you done for your movement this week? And it doesn't have to be like sweat all out, like go hard for 2 hours. It's like 10 minutes, like 20 minutes, 5 minutes, like anything that you need to do. And breath work is physical, right? So it doesn't have to be this whole extravaganza. And I will say, when I was doing bodybuilding, it was my whole life, but I was not as happy as I am now.
Yeah.
I did not have this much ease and peace in my life. I didn't feel like as much of myself. I was very empowered, but that's all I was doing, right? So it wasn't balanced, if you will.
Do you think that's because it's competitive and it's this competition, and so now it becomes? Why do you think that is with bodybuilding? It seems like a lot of people get really into it and then they do fall out of it. At least the people that I know.
Yeah. Truly, a lot of times bodybuilding fills a void.
Right.
So if you crave power, or you don't feel like you get it anywhere else, or you don't feel like you have control in other areas of your life, a lot, I won't paint too broad of a brush for me, and for, I think, Brian as well. When you lack control in other areas, you cling on to where you find control, right? So won't paint bodybuilding in a bad light because it was a beautiful time of my life. I enjoyed it so much. But I think that it gave me an avenue where I could access like my fierceness. Like if you meet me, I'm like, Brian's like, you're not fierce. Like, you're very sweet. I'm like, okay. But it gave me this avenue where I could feel like I am powerful. I'm in control. I can build whatever body I want. Like, I can control all these facets that used to feel so challenging for me. Like when I was overweight and I was heavier, I felt like, all right, I can control school. Like I was like, all right, I'm going to pour my energy into school, into classes. Like I have an engineering degree. So I was like, I'm going to go hard there. And then I was just like, once I found bodybuilding, or I found that avenue of like weight training and losing weight, I was like, oh my God, like, this is everything. Right. So I think that we lean into things that give us what we're looking for, and not to be too general, but if you're looking for power and control, then bodybuilding's a great way to go. Right? If you're looking for relaxation and ease, like, and maybe you live on a lake or you have a boat, then maybe you go escape to your boat. Nothing necessarily wrong with it. It's just if you actually analyze yourself and you're not happy with you and you're just escaping all the time, then there's more work to be done. Right? So my fitness journey was fun and empowering, but eventually I realized, who am I without this? I'm actually really anxious and I don't know what to do about that. And I feel disconnected. I'm very reactive. And I was like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to do right now, but I don't think that this is it.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Well, and the rules and the deprivation that come with that type of competition.
It's intense.
Yeah, it almost seems like a little bit of self-torture. Like it's a little bit of, why are you being so mean to yourself? Like, I'm not saying that that's what it is. I'm just saying, and maybe that's my excuse for not, that's why I don't bodybuild.
You could write it. No, I feel you.
It's like, it just seems like so like rough, like really like rough. Like it's really rough.
It's intense. Yeah. It's definitely intense. I think that you got to have a certain mentality to do it. You have to be it at some capacity. It can be torturous. That's an aggressive word, but it can be. I won't tell my fiance's story. He has his own stories to tell, but he had to lose 7 pounds in a day for his competition, which meant sauna, which unhealthy. Absolutely. Yeah. For me, it was eating 1,000 calories at one point, getting really low. And it was really intense. But I think that, the drive for it's the competition with yourself, the competition to just be as intense as you can be, to be as great as you can be in that sport, to be as lean as you can be. It just gives you all this opportunity for superlatives, if you will, like as blank as I can be, as confident, as beautiful as I can be on stage, as like hard hitting with my poses as I can be, if I can win, like it just gives you that like excitement to create more and more and more and more, which is why it can be really addicting.
I bet.
Right? Like
I bet.
But it's fun, but it's definitely a dance.
So your bodybuilding, I guess at some point in your life you didn't look the way that you do now, which is hard to imagine, but maybe not for you. You decide to start bodybuilding as a way of control. Then what? Like, when did you wake up and say, hey, this is, and then what came next?
Yeah. And I don't want to paint it necessarily in a dark light, because what really happened was I was overweight forever, and I had tried to eat less and exercise more for as long as I could remember, since I was like 12. So once I got to the point where I learned how to weight train first, my fiance Brian was bodybuilding, so I wasn't aiming to do a competition.
Sure.
I'll say that. I was just aiming to lose weight, feel good in my body, be confident. And once I started hitting like weight training, the barbell, like actually seeing that I could lose weight because I had tried forever, that started to make me feel confident in myself. It started to make me feel like, I love who I am. I'm happy with me. I can show up more in my classes. I can ask questions. Like at that point I was in college. So it was really this journey of becoming confident and loving my body. And then I was like, well, let's take this to the next level.
I see.
So once I had lost like 35 pounds or so, maybe 40, then I was like, all right, I'll prep for a show, because that was what I originally saw that sparked my fire. Was I went to Brian's bodybuilding competition, and I saw all the other women up there who were normal people, like not models. And I was like, if 50 women up there can do that, oh my God, why can't I do that? Like, all these people are normal people. They don't have like all these like celebrity trainers and like perfect diets. Like, those are just normal people. So it was a very inspiring like journey. But I rode that up till nationals, and I competed on the national stage in Miami, and it was super fun. But about 2 months or so before that competition, what really made me go, I should stop, was I don't remember what I read or what I saw, but I had a moment where I was like, my body's really unhealthy.
Oh.
I hadn't had a period in 4 years.
Oh my goodness.
And so I was like, that's probably not good. It sounds so silly now, but I'm like, oh, that's probably not good. So I like researched it a little bit, and I was like, oh, I can't have kids if I don't have a period. I can't, like, I'm going to lose bone mass. I'm going to get osteoporosis. Like, I saw all of the things that could come if I didn't get healthy, or at least learn how to get healthy. Because at that point, all I knew how to do was lose weight. I knew how to lose weight. I knew how to compete, but I didn't know how to just be healthy.
Yeah.
What was optimal health? I had no idea. I didn't know anything about my hormone health. I didn't know how to eat to fuel rather than just fuel a physique goal. So at that, whatever like got me to have that moment, I usually say it's like somebody turned on a flashlight in a dark room, because it wasn't like somebody slapped me in the face and I had some major health fallout. It was more like really quiet but really obvious, like.
But you never thought about it in 4 years. Like, hey, I haven't gotten my period lately. It never.
No, I was like, oh, it's fine. It'll come back. I was like, it's fine. I don't need it. I don't need the cramps. Like, so.
Is it normal? It must be normal in that industry to where people, you're not the only one that's experiencing that. So you almost normalize it a little bit? Or?
Normalized it. And I don't know. I think I just wasn't aware of my health. I wasn't aware of that was really the ticket of health for women, is if you have a normal, regular cycle. And actually, a lot of women don't know that. They're like, oh, I just have really bad PMS, or I have like really heavy flow, or I have crazy mood swings. It's like, well, that means their ticket is a little bent here. So we need to fix that. We can fix that. So I just didn't know that it meant all of these things down the line. I knew that, if you don't have your period, you can't have a kid. But I was like, well, I'm not trying to have a kid anyway. So I justified it, right? And I was just like, well, I really want this goal, so I can't gain weight right now. So I just found different ways to justify it without really realizing, because the goal was just so intriguing and exciting that I just didn't think about it. Genuinely. I'm really grateful I did when I was 23.
Right.
So I spent
young enough to get it back. Is there a fear associated when 40 pounds is a decent amount of weight to lose? Way to go. Congrats.
Thanks.
I know that was not easy. I had extra weight on me as a 12-year-old until I was 14, and I know how that feels, and it's uncomfortable. Albeit it wasn't 40 pounds, but I don't know if it matters, right? It's when you don't feel good in your skin, you don't. But is there a little bit of fear associated with, well, I got control of this, and now not only do I not have 40 pounds, I look like the picture of, stunningness on a stage. How do so now I've discovered, I guess I'm really not that healthy. I've been painting this picture, but maybe I've really got to look at this. Does fear creep in on how do I get to the other side? God, it's got to be terrifying, because you don't want to go back.
Absolutely. Oh. Well, you think of, anybody listening, you think of any time you've ever lost weight. The first thing on your mind once you lost it was probably like, got to make sure I don't get in that back. Like, can I have that ice cream? Oh, can I have that? Am I going to snowball backwards? Right? So that's something we talk about a lot with our clients is, well, you have to go forward. You have to go forward. You can't look back. Like, you're not going to go back there unless you look there. Right? If you look at the white line on the road when you're learning in driver's ed, you go towards the line. So you need to look forward. Right. So it's absolutely scary. And I did it in the healthiest way I possibly could. So at that point and this isn't the case for most people, but when you're that lean, your hormones have tanked, usually, if you're at the place where I was, not for everybody, but for me. And that means when you gain weight, it does not gain back evenly. You gain it just in your stomach.
Oh.
And you're like, just like right here. And so I was like really scared of that. And I did like every pound is more obvious at that point. So it was definitely frightening, but I was so committed to the goal of I don't know what health looks like. I need to figure out what health looks like. And I don't care if I have to gain some body fat to do that. And just because I said that doesn't mean it was easy.
Right.
But every time that I would get upset or I'd feel uncomfortable, I'd be like, oh, I wasn't ever afraid. well, actually, that's not true. But every time that I experienced fear or I got upset or I felt uncomfortable or self-conscious, I was like, it's worth it. It's worth it. Just keep going. You have to prioritize this. Like in my mind, there was no other option. There was no option. And I knew gaining body fat was a part of that. But after that, it just became this process of I gained some, but then, sometimes you get a little lazy in your process. Like you're trying to be balanced, but then you get lazy.
Yeah.
So then you have to look at yourself and be like,
yeah, am
I actually healthy or am I just like letting myself go? Right? Because those are two different things. To be balanced is one thing. To be like, sushi every night and ice cream 3 times a week. It's like, well,
right.
Let's relax. Like, let's pull back. So there was a point where it was like, I think a year later, I don't think I had gotten my period back yet, or maybe I just had, but I looked at myself and Brian and I were going to go on a trip and he's like, have you considered cutting? Because then you almost get afraid of being too obsessive.
Right.
So you're like, well, I do want to lose weight, but am I going to be too obsessive? So it's always going to be a dance. And if fear is involved, it doesn't ever create the outcome you want, right? So at that point, you have to ask yourself what you really want and be willing to find a solution that does really work for you and brings you life.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't going to be me prepping 6 meals a day that was going to bring me life at that point. It was, I want to lose like 5 to 6 pounds. I want to get really focused in my routines and I want to feel really great no matter what my body looks like. And I want to have a great body. So it was like, all right, that's what I want. Then I need to stack the routine that works for me and I need to make it happen. And that's kind of how I've led my life from that point forward. It's always, well, what do I want? Do I accept where I am? If not, why? Can I love myself on the way there? So it's a lot of those like just constant self-analysis and like, where am I going to feel my best? And learning how to not tie, like as cliche as it is, not tie my worth to my body, because it is a clear, tangible sign of how I treat myself. Right? That's true. But it also doesn't mean that I'm less or more based on my body fat percentage. So it's an interesting dance. And I'm like, what was the original question there? But
no.
That's all the thoughts that flow off of that.
We were talking about fear. You answered it perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay focused on the outcome.
Stay focused on the outcome and be honest with yourself.
Yes. If so many people are so afraid to say what they want.
Because then you got to do the work.
Yeah.
And if you fail, then you fail. I mean, it makes sense to me. Like, life is so difficult. Like it's interesting because as you're talking about this, I'm really thinking about that piece of it's never the same. It's ever changing. It's ever flowing. Mm-hmm. How you are today and in this month and in this year and however long this phase lasts will inevitably change. It does flow. You go on a trip. Mm-hmm. You break it down a little bit, then you come back and you don't catch yourself. And it's like, but that self-awareness that you've developed and those questions that you're able to ask yourself and that honesty that you've been able to bring to yourself, I can imagine that your clients benefit greatly by the fact that you've gone through it, that you continue to go through it, and that you understand it on such a deep level.
I hope so. No, it's
because the emotions are there, the awareness is there, every piece that needs to be there that I think people leave out. Like it's emotional. It's emotional. It's emotional to live. It's emotional to be. It's emotional to be honest with yourself and to have goals and then to try and figure out how to, but You have a very analytical side to your personality, huh?
I do.
I hear engineering. Like, I'm not so surprised.
Thank you. I do.
How do I break this thing down?
Precisely. Everybody's greatest strengths can be their greatest weakness. So I'm hyper aware that I often get far too caught up in the details and the how, right? So I have to, a lot of the things I say, I also have to tell myself a lot, like, what do you want? Focus on the outcome you want to create. Right. Don't get so lost in, oh my God, but how? Oh my God, but how? It's hard. But yeah, I do think that you have to have some of that analytical side to you, right? Like, especially if you're going to be, I would consider myself more of I'm a coach, but a lot of what I do is I strategize for people. I help them piece together their lives to the point where they feel like, oh yeah, I can fit my workouts in. I can like organize my nutrition. I can organize my time blocking or my schedule. So that comes into play, but I think that's where the analytical side of things comes in and is really fun.
Yeah, I think it's super beneficial. I think it's fantastic and great, because I think you help people break down what it is for them. You ask the right questions, and we're all so different, and we're all motivated by such different things and connected to things differently. And so I think it's super helpful. I think it's positive all the way around. I'm sure for you on yourself, because you're probably also very like self-critical on some level,
for sure,
right? And all of that.
For
so
sure.
I'm sure that that's where it creeps in, where you have to work on it. But I would think where other people are concerned, it would be super beneficial. Totally. What kind of coach do you describe yourself as? Because I'm hearing like complete life, like, but that doesn't mean that's what you say.
Yeah, I have, we've gone through, Brian and I talk a lot about like, okay, what do we call ourselves? Because I really enjoy the life aspect. If I don't know your life, I can't really help you, right? Because if I don't know what's coming up, I don't know why you're not working out. Like, it's obviously because something else has come up. But I would consider myself a personal health coach. Okay. So the personal side of it is mind, body, soul, like type of experience, but it is very health first, mental health, physical health, emotional health. So when you get down to, we were defining our company values probably last month or so. And when we were looking at health, we were like, all right, what is our definition of health? Our definition of health is a conscious, continuous effort to improve and optimize your mental and physical health. So if that's your definition of health, then it covers everything. Covers you as a person, right?
That's so good. You guys are always working to be the best you can be. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with you guys where you're not analyzing the business, trying to determine the best method for working with people. Like, you guys really practice great business.
Thank you.
It's got to be hard though, working with. Wait, I know how that is. Wait a second.
Yes, you know.
But on different level. Like, what is it like working with your wonderful fiance?
My darling.
Yes.
It is intense and beautiful and challenging, and it pushes you on every level, I would say.
But you continue to see that you're on the same path and have the same goals, or you probably are big enough people that you could say, you know what, this was really lovely, but we're going to just split and we see you at home.
Yeah.
Right?
It's we've had lots of those moments of, do we want it? Are we chasing the same thing? But what we've observed, we both took a, I would say, visualization or maybe emotional wellness type of course together, but separately. And what our mentor realized, she was like, when you and Brian are both in a beautiful state, like you both are like speaking freely and not with fear, your visions are the exact same.
Really?
So anytime that we get like, oh, but you're not on the same page, or why did you do that? Or we like nitpick each other. Then we start to think that we're on these different paths and we're not supposed to be working together. And truthfully, all of his strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa. Yeah. So when we're analytical about it, we're like, well, this makes sense. But we're also really working on separating our relationship from our business relationship and defining them differently. Yeah. Right. And that's very recent. This has been very challenging since the beginning, as we knew it would be, just with so many dynamics. Totally. And we both have very I would say loud personalities. So we both have big personalities, and so we can butt heads a lot. But what we kind of have really worked on defining that's been helpful is like, all right, I really crave a deep personal connection and intimacy and love and no judgment, like unconditional love in our relationship romantically. But when he thinks relationship, he thinks our work relationship.
Right.
So what was really helpful was me saying, well, okay, why don't we define these as like two different things? Because you're happy over here, but I'm not, and you're not happy over here, and I am. Right?
Oh.
So we were like, oh. So we defined the work relationship that he wanted, because I was already like fine with it. And he's like, well, I need to have like flow with you, and I need you to be open to my ideas, and I need us to just like jam together and be open, and all those different creative ideas need to flow. And so once we define those two different relationships, ever since then, it's gotten a lot easier.
Do you have hours by which you get to practice those?
We usually have to tell each other, okay, no business
clock
right now.
Off. Yeah,
like
clock off.
Usually that's me. Brian could talk business. Like it's just he's so passionate about business development and what we're doing, and he could talk about it all day long. I could too, but usually I'm talking about like my clients, and he's like, I don't care right now. I love that you are happy, but I don't want to hear it right now. So it's, to answer the question, it's definitely challenging, but it's I can imagine doing it by myself, but it would be so different.
Right.
So I think that we've tried not to put pressure around it. Pressure naturally builds around it working, us as partners, but ultimately we see ourselves going the same direction, even if it ends up being fairly separate, which it will be because we're our own individuals. But right now we know that we need to be really building together to have the most power behind it and to have the most creative flow to it. And so it's definitely worth it, but it's definitely challenging. So,
and thank you for being honest, because listen, how could it not be? I mean,
seriously,
I was talking to a very dear friend about relationships today, and just like the growth and how, my husband and I work together as well. And yesterday we got into it about some, move in, in the communities, and like he walked out and I said a few things, but behind his back. Don't ask what they were. Nothing terrible. But, in my opinion, I knew he was wrong. In his opinion, he knew I was wrong. Mm-hmm. But, like, we've been together so long. Like, am I going to start a war over that? Like, it's no big deal. Mm-hmm. But that emotionality and that, like, being able to get to the other side, it really just takes time. Like, you cannot force it ahead or forge it ahead. Like, you have to just get to the point where you are comfortable enough. At least this is my take on it. And look, I could get PO'd tomorrow and say whatever I told
Never
Lindsey,
mind.
forget it. Yeah. But you have to get, I think, comfortable enough in the relationship that, look, we're not breaking up. This is no big deal. We're talking about some nonsense anyway. And like, they say pick your battles, but like, I really understand what that means now. Like, that is not a battle. Like, it's okay. You're wrong.
Still.
I know it. We won't talk about it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. It's so funny.
And I'm going to let you think you're right. Yeah. And you can let me think I'm right, because I am. But you know what? It's whatever. I'm just joking. But like, but not. I feel like earlier on, and again, I've got a lot of age on you, and this is my second husband, so that's different too. This is my second marriage. We met at work, but like, I think it's taken me a long time to really feel so comfortable in a relationship that like one little fight, I'm not that fear
attached to it.
Well, because what's the fear really about? Is the fear that we're not going to last, we're not going to work, we're going to end up divorced, we're going to, that's. Which is total BS, but that is really at the root of what's underneath the surface, right?
So
like,
true.
This isn't going to work. We're never going to be able to raise kids. I mean, you're going, and even if you're not thinking on that level, it's at the gut. Until the gut works it out and goes, yeah, he's here to stay, and you really believe that, you do sort of like, you banter a little bit more, you know?
Totally. Oh my gosh, I resonate with that so much. That was a big thing that I had to work through myself, of like that fear came up. And then I was like, well, what do I do with these questions? that I don't know the answer to right now. And that's where a lot of the vulnerability has to come in. And if you are really, like, for me, it's like, I was genuinely like, I don't know if this is going to work. And we talked about it many times. We were like, all right, so how are we going to look at this? Like, what perspective do we want to take on it? And sometimes we're just kind of like, hey, well, let's commit for the next year and then like, let's
take some of the pressure off, though.
Right? But that's just not how most people approach relationships. It's like, well, we're getting married and we're going to stay together forever, and that's what it's going to be. And we believe that. We're like, we could easily make it work forever. We could stay together forever, but we're still in that building phase of like, we're engaged and we've been engaged for a few years, but we're still in that building phase of, okay, how do we want to approach this? Like, what would life look like as a mother or as a father? What do you see in that? And do we have the same perspective? Can we compromise? So we're still in that like interesting questioning phase of like just working together and figuring out ourselves and our dynamic. Because there's all these stories of like, oh, well, if the business wasn't there, we'd be so happy all the time and we'd be fantastic and it'd be easy. And it's like, oh, well, is that true? Maybe, but we won't know. So it's okay.
Yeah.
It's a dance.
No, it's a total dance. And I'll tell you, like, this is something that came to my mind when we were saying that. Like, first of all, the fact that you're able to speak the way that you are is a really good testament to your relationship.
Oh, thank you.
Because having those hard conversations, I would say most people do not have them, period. End of story. They don't have them. They get into marriages. You know, in my first case, no offense to my mom, who I love dearly, but it was her time. She thought it was time for me to get married. And so I had a lot of pressure on me, and I was at the right age at the right time. And so that's what we did. And, you know, I loved him, but, you know, I didn't ask any of the hard questions. I knew there was issues, right? But this is what came to my mind as you were saying that. You can't outsmart time and experience. So as really advanced as you guys both are in your ability to handle everything that you've got, and, you know, you're so, you've got so much wisdom, the time and things just have to keep happening to you and happening to you and happening to you. And like, they just do. Like, I don't think, like, I'm still learning the same damn lessons. It's like, you know, in the same pain. And it's like it's easier, but like, I would totally be lying to you if I said, oh, it's easy. It's not easy. It's easier. But the time and the experience, like, you cannot cut them down. Like, time is your best friend. And having time, you cannot, you don't want it to go faster, first of all, but you can't push ahead. It just is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's just, this came to mind as you were saying that too. I say it in other areas, but I haven't necessarily thought of it in the relationship aspect. But I mean, just the other day, I think it was yesterday, Brian was like, Lindsey, you think you're so good at communication. You're not very good at communication. I'm like, damn it. You're definitely right there. Because I don't mean to not ask for help. I just sometimes I have a hard time phrasing what is it that I actually need. I don't know. So I think of it, now that you say that, I think of it as a practice. Yes. And the more that you practice, the better you'll get. But sometimes you don't even know you're not practicing.
Right.
So you're probably going to get worse at it. Yeah. But then you practice more, and then you get better at it. Right. And then you forget that you need to practice. And so it's probably just like ding, 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 ding.
No, it is. You know, you're PMSing one day, and you're, you know, like, it is what it is. I mean, you suck. I mean, it just, you know, there's just days that I suck. Yeah. You know, there's days that my husband sucks. There's days that my kids suck. I mean, for us to like have this, like, you know, look, we can be the best that we can be. And some days it's better than others. And that's just like the essence of life. Like, some days I'm super emotional. Some days I'm super light. Today I'm really light. I knew you were coming. I was excited. I'm excitable. Tomorrow, you know, I might be different, but we have to, I guess, give ourselves a little bit of a break on that, I guess, is what it comes down to.
Maybe a little grace.
A little grace.
A little grace, a little permission.
Grace. Yeah. So what is it like, and how does it start being your client?
Oh, my goodness. From the client perspective or from my perspective?
Either, whatever comes to your mind. I guess,
yes.
Yeah, whatever comes to your mind. I guess you would you would know their perspective from them
Touché.
telling you, right?
Touche. Yes. So where it starts, I would say, is once somebody says yes, once people start their process, before they even start their process, I need to help them work on their vision. I need to know what they see, because otherwise I can't help you get to an arbitrary target. We need to know exactly what we're aiming for. So I help them build out their vision, exactly what their habits are going to look like, and I can extract a lot from that vision, which is basically, what is your ideal day? Like, how would you like to be living? What do you want to see in the mirror? How do you want to behave? How do you want to treat your kids? How do you want to treat your husband? Who are you, right? So once they define their vision and I know what obstacles we have to work against, whether it's time or just there's a knowledge gap or there's other things that have come up, then I take my information, I build them out a beautiful strategy, because engineer, analytical, I want it to be beautiful. I want it to be strategic.
It's probably so beautiful.
So we build out what would it take to get to Z, right? What would it take to get to Z? And that means I really focus on habit change, right? Because the only way to change your life is to change the way that you live on a daily basis, which is your habits.
Your life is your habits.
Yes.
That's
so
essentially, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And habits are mental and they're physical, right? And they're emotional. So we look at all of that, and then I give them the whole bird's eye strategy I see. Like, okay, here's how long it's going to take. Here are the different components of your physical movement, your nutrition, and then your mental and emotional wellness. Here are the way these three things come together and create you. Here's where we're going to start. And usually it starts with, all right, move your body every day.
Yeah.
All right, let's see, how much are you eating? What are you eating? We just need to know where you're at currently. And I have them start with just, do you create space for yourself for 5 minutes in the morning? Okay. Right? So we meet them exactly where they're at with their schedule, with what's available for them, and have them start at what should feel very small for them. And then every week we check, we build, we analyze, and we say, are we moving closer to Z? Are we moving through the alphabet? Are we building that vision? And we just constantly check back, and we make sure that everything that comes up, we discuss, and we go through together, and we celebrate, or we work through a challenge together. And I would say that's what the experience is like, is just, all right, we have a vision. Let's go do it. Let's create it. Oh. And we just have to always stay focused, pull it back, because it's so easy. You don't have to make it your whole life, but it's just being able to be like, are you taken care of right now? Why not? If so, why not? Okay, what would it feel like to be taken care of right now? What do you need? And just really teaching people to analyze themselves and to be able to get to the point where this is just your life. And it happens everybody has their own timing, which is why I say, here's how long I think it will take to create that. But if we go through the process, ideally by the end, you're feeling like this is just my life, but maybe not. Maybe then you have a new goal. Right. And we have to reset and do it again and keep evolving and keep growing. So I would say that's the experience, is like, from the client perspective, it's like, what do you see? What do you want? What would light you up? All right, I will build it for you, and I will build it with you, and we will take it one baby step at a time. You do not need to think of chapter 6. Focus on today. And I think that's the gift of outsourcing that strategy piece, because you don't need to worry about how long it's going to take. You don't need to worry about what you need to do next week. It's like, here's what you need to do today. Here's what matters this week. All right, we'll analyze next week. Don't even worry about that. And so there's somebody from the outside looking in, watching you travel this path and just being like, hey, you forgot this thing. Come back. Okay. Nope, one more thing. All the way till you create exactly what you see.
Wow.
It's fun.
You know, I just heard this yesterday. I cannot remember where it was, but somebody was talking about how any goal that you want to reach, you will reach with accountability, but it is very difficult to reach where you don't have accountability. And I know, like in my industry, in real estate, for instance, many people that are top professionals have coaches of some sort, or like anything that you want to be great with, there's coaching is available. Yes. I think maybe sometimes the general public maybe sees that as a weakness, or I can't afford it, or there's excuses, right? There's probably a million different excuses. We could excuse all day. Absolutely. What I felt when you said that is that just one day with you, just one meeting with you would tell somebody that they're in the right place and that they are, not only do you have them, but you've got them. Like you're holding them up with themselves. They're going to hold themselves up, but you're there with them.
Yeah.
I felt your process. So.
Oh, thank you. I love it.
It's so good.
It's so fun. I think, the biggest thing that I want to do is I want to empower people to take care of themselves first. I'm going to walk that walk with you, but eventually you'll get to the point where you feel so clear and so organized and feel so confident in what you can do that you're going to run the race on your own, and I'm going to be right here with you. Instead of feeling like I'm pushing you along, it's like eventually you'll be like blossoming in yourself. And I think every time that you want to break through whatever glass ceiling, like we were talking about before we started recording, whenever you see that you have a glass ceiling, you're not pushing yourself, you're not getting there, it's because there's something that you can't see.
Yeah.
There's something there. And once you get an outside perspective, and like you just said, I have a coach in our business, I've been coached in fitness, and whenever you feel yourself butting up against something and you don't know why you're stopping yourself, you need somebody to come in from the outside and give you the external accountability so you can create the internal belief of like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I can, cool.
Help you see clearly.
Exactly.
Because sometimes you're just too close. Mm-hmm. You just don't even see it.
Yeah.
It's just right there and you just don't see it.
Precisely.
Something that I've noticed in myself lately that's actually terrifying, I don't know if that I've admitted this out loud to anybody, probably but John, who unfortunately gets to hear all of my nonsense, is my memory is like terrifying me. Like I'm forgetting keys everywhere. I'm forgetting where I put my AirPods, and I mean, it's not just like a little bit. It's to the point where it's like, is like this early onset something? Like what's going on? Do you experience that a lot with your clients? And how do you think the mind fits in? Because the mind is a big part of all this, right? Like,
yeah. Oh gosh, yes. I have one client that comes to mind. Bless their heart, I love her. But yeah, she experienced that a lot. It can be that, and I will not ever diagnose otherwise.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, how much water are you drinking?
Like, well, you can see I haven't had much.
Right? So this one client, and I'll just use this as an example because it can be this simple, and I've experienced that myself too, where I'm like, I am forgetting everyone and everything.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a matter of organization, right? Sometimes it really is like, all right, I swore the keys were right here, but there's no actual home for the keys, right? So we'll put that aside. Health-wise, a lot of times it is things like sleep and water.
Yeah.
And food.
Both of which are lacking.
Right? And caffeine.
Yeah.
And this one client, she forgot everything all the time. And she's like, she didn't even realize that she was forgetting things all the time. I was like, hey, you forget a lot of things. How much water are you drinking? And I was like, that might sound weird. And she was like, well, none. And I was like, literally none? Or like some? And she was like, I sip on a large coffee all day. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll have like a spritzer or something like a sparkling water in the evening. I was like, so you're drinking about 8 ounces to 12 ounces of water a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guarantee if you start drinking water, like at least 60 to 80 ounces, you're going to feel like a different person. She wrote me a week later and she was like, oh, I started actually digesting food and sleeping and I feel so much more energized and I feel awake and I have more mental acuity. So
there you go.
Sometimes it can be that simple.
Yeah.
If all other things were in place, you were eating really healthy, and I say healthy meaning like not a bunch of processed sugars and stuff like that, because those can build up plaque into the brain. And if you're also making sure that you're, as silly as it sounds, breathing. Like if you're breathing really shallow, your brain's not getting as much oxygen. Sometimes just expanding your lung capacity can be helpful. But as long as all those other things in place, then you go the next route and you're like, ooh, I should get this like actually looked at.
Right.
But sometimes it's that simple.
It's simple.
Because the body is mostly water. So if you're not drinking enough water, or you're just not hydrated enough, or you're not sleeping well, or there are other food assets or components that come in. But memory-wise, a lot of that is the mental acuity. And sometimes you're not getting enough healthy fats.
Oh.
And other times, You might need something else like to help with your training of your mind and your focus, because memory is also partially focus related, right? So when it comes to training your mind, sometimes it can be brain games, and I won't go that route. So what I would say for you is probably like more water, possibly nootropics, which are just brain chemicals that boost mental clarity and focus, and sleep.
Yeah, that would be good.
Those 3 things, I bet you'll start remembering more, and just making sure that everything has its home.
Before we, oh my God, I could talk to you for days.
We can do another one.
We can do another one. Why don't we just do this every week?
That sounds good. Co-host.
What is, and this is going to be hard, but if you like think of your clients, like what's a favorite story or a favorite outcome or
that I've seen them go through?
Yeah. Of like where you've said, this is why I do what I do.
Oh my goodness.
That's hard.
I there's a lot of recent ones. There's so many, because there's so many. Like I had last night, I'm doing yoga, I'm taking care of myself and getting off my screen, and then I see 2 messages pop up at the same time. They're from 2 different clients. Both of them, the first sentence is, I have to tell you, I know it's late, I just had a major breakthrough. And I'm like, oh my God, it makes me so happy when I see those things. So there's so many little moments. But one client in particular comes to mind, and a lot of my clients are entrepreneurs, so a lot of them have a similar experience. When you have a business under your belt and a family and a husband and 7,000 other things on your plate, there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of anxiety, worry about, can I sustain what I'm doing? What is my mom going to think? Like, even it's just a lot. And this one client in particular, she came to me feeling like she was, all of a sudden she realized she needed guidance, because she was like, I don't want to get out of bed today. What? Like, I'm not depressed, but I don't want to get out of bed, and I feel this. And it was like, whoa, I am not taking care of me, and I don't feel healthy. I don't feel good. I don't feel good about my body, myself. And it was right at the beginning of COVID. And so her and I chatted, and she was nervous to get started, and she was like, oh my God, and she felt really attached to the scale. She like really wanted to lose weight now. And that just felt like the thing for her. And I slowly watched her, like I just stayed very much in my, like, because it's easy to like try to over justify or be like, hey, okay, we'll try that. Like, but you can't, you have to stay in your zone. And slowly I watched her break away from every construct she had about how she had to look and who she had to be and what everybody else thought of her and all the judgment around her. And over the course of, I've worked with her for almost a year and a half now. And she sent me a picture the other day of her business. Her business was a lot smaller at that point. They started hitting big targets throughout the year as she was working on herself and just getting better and better. She sent me a picture of a photo shoot she did with her team, which is now stacked. Like, she's in real estate. She's a stacked team, all like fierce, badass women. And their company is just blown up. And these photos, like her and her business partner at the front. And she sent me that, and she was like, I'm so proud of myself. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I'm so happy for you. Like that, like it was just such a beautiful representation of who she's become and how proud she is of herself and how much she's evolved and how many lives she's impacting, like even just with her team, how her confidence is showing up for them and how she's helping them grow their business. And it was just really cool to see the whole thing come together. She's always growing, always hitting challenges and evolving, but just to see that transformation, to get to that point of like confidence in yourself and pride in what you've built is like, damn.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
Thank you for asking that question. I'm grateful I get to share that story. That is why I do what I do.
Yeah, you need those moments because it's, I'm sure you're putting a lot out there, right? There's a lot of yourself that goes into these clients and these people, and then it's nice to just think about those rewards for yourself as well. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you just are. You've got it all, and you're fierce as shit. So I don't know who told you what you're not. I'm going to tell you.
I'll tell him.
Tell him. Brian, she's fierce as shit.
He's going to die. Oh my God.
You are.
It's
in a very controlled way.
Thank you.
We don't have to show up and be fierce. We can show up, and just showing up the way that you do is fierce.
Oh, thank you.
It's beautiful. And you're beautiful. And thank you so much for being with me. I learned so much today, and I will figure out how to get more and more of you because you are special.
Yay.
Thank you, Lindsey.
Thank you. Amazing.
You. No, I'm dead serious. You are incredible. Hey, Dallas. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Dallas Culture Club podcast. We know you have a million ways to spend your time, and we are thrilled to have you here with us. We'd love to connect with you. Go to dallascultureclub.com and sign up to join the club. Be the first to receive our latest episodes, invitations to roundtable talks and events, and connect with other local purpose-driven individuals. Go to dallascultureclub.com and join the club today.